The Star Wars universe has a ton of different vehicles, but there's one group that's always caught my attention, and that's walkers. I watched the original trilogy for the first time when I was probably about 5. 3 things stuck out to 5-year-old me. 1. Jedi were the coolest people ever, and I wanted to be one. 2. The Emperor was, and still is, the scariest thing I've ever seen. And 3. The Battle of Hoth was the best battle in the history of battles. For me, snowspeeders were the coolest thing in Star Wars after X-Wings. And the huge AT-ATs were essentially laser-shooting metal dinosaurs. The opening scene of that battle, when it just pans up on the slowly approaching walkers, gave me chills. Fast forward to now. We have been introduced to countless different walkers in the Star Wars world, and I now have a bit of knowledge of how things work and the ability to think critically. Essentially, I am now able to ruin Star Wars for myself, and with YouTube, for others too. So, with my newfound abilities, I thought it would be interesting to really look deep into walkers and see if their design actually makes sense. Now, in order to do this, I have to divide the walkers into different categories, because they all serve different purposes. Those categories are 4-legged walkers, walkers with more than 4 legs, and walkers with 2 legs. So let's talk about 4-legged walkers. They typically feature 4 tall legs, a main body, and a head. The main types are AT-ATs and their variants, and the AT-M6. There are more, but these are the ones people are most familiar with. Now, at first glance, they seem like they'd be a terrible design in real life. Take a look at the All-Terrain Armored Transport, or AT-AT. It's got a very tall center of gravity, which makes it more unstable and very visible. You're definitely not going to sneak up in one of these. Having legs also means that if one leg is taken out, the rest of the vehicle would probably be incapacitated. They're also somewhat susceptible to very rudimentary weapons. In the movies, they aren't fast or maneuverable at all. So why does the Empire use them? Why not use something like a tank? Tanks are stealthier, simpler, and more maneuverable. It was even George Lucas's original plan. This is the HAV-WA6 Juggernaut, also known as the Turbo Tank. It looks like an AT-AT but with big wheels instead of legs. This was his original plan instead of the AT-ATs. So why did he use walkers instead? Well, tanks can be taken out by rudimentary stuff too. Even in our own world, a tank can be taken out by the equivalent of an oversized bottle rocket. The First Order more or less fixed that problem anyway by making the front legs of the AT-M6 much larger, giving it a lot more stability. Tanks are also susceptible to mines. Because of the AT-AT's height, mines aren't really an issue. And the AT-ATs aren't really that slow either. According to the wiki article, they can travel up to 37 miles an hour. And they really weren't designed to be stealthy. Look at the group who designed them. This is the same group that shows us they're willing to sacrifice practicality to look cool. Look at this scene in Rogue One. They land the ship very far away from their target and walk slowly up in formation. Basically they're saying, you're welcome to try to escape if you want, but we're still gonna find you and take you with us. Now picture that same group of things walking up slowly in formation, except they're 74 feet tall, and the ground shakes every time they take a step. Intimidation tactics in war aren't something you just find in movies either. Behold the Ju-87 Stuka dive bomber. These were used by the Germans in World War II, the same group the Empire is actually based off of. While the planes themselves don't really look all that scary, they feature a siren that would activate when they were in a dive. They used them to intimidate the enemy, even though they actually hindered performance slightly. And that is why George Lucas put his Juggernaut design on legs, for intimidation. It also makes sense to make them taller. The weapons the AT-AT use are laser cannons. The thing about lasers is they travel in a straight line. Unlike Earth, the planet in Star Wars are round. It's a fascinating concept but highly unrealistic. It also means the rules are slightly different. The higher up you are, the more range you have. It also means your shots are less likely to be blocked by terrain. And everybody knows that having the high ground is the key to winning in Star Wars. And the proof is right there in the Battle of Hoth. The rebels get stomped. All in all, I would say these walkers are a pretty effective design. What about walkers with more than 4 legs? These designs were more prevalent in the Clone Wars. Examples include the AT-OT, UMHC, and AT-TE. However, we will be mainly focusing on the AT-TE, as that one has the most information available on it. The AT-TE, or All-Terrain Tactical Enforcer, features 6 legs. As mentioned before, legs are kind of a weakness. They reduce speed and maneuverability, are more mechanically complex, and are more vulnerable compared to wheels or treads. With its large forward gun and shorter height, the AT-AT even looks like a tank. So again, why with the legs? Simply speaking, the legs can go more places than wheels or treads. Look at this scene from the Clone Wars movie. The AT-AT is able to climb a near vertical cliff. When they say all-terrain, that includes sideways terrain. Also, they are pressurized, and they're equipped with magnetic feet.
Activate those walkers, Admiral.
You are not thinking of using those to transport the clones to that frigate.
Well, they are pressurized.
And they're equipped with magnetic feet. Good call.
That means they can walk on a ship. In space. The AT-AT could also fit up to 20 passengers, making it a pretty good troop transport. I'd definitely say the AT-AT was a pretty good design. The final group of walkers I wanted to take a look at are the bipedal walkers. These include the AT-ST, AT-RT, and the AT-AP. I know that one has 3 legs, but it walks on the back too, and only uses the third for stability over really rough terrain and when firing its main gun, so lay off. These vehicles were typically much faster and far more agile than the ones in the other 2 groups. The AT-ST, or All-Terrain Armored Scout, is probably the most well-known of the group. It has a top speed of 57 miles per hour, and it's well armed with 2 blaster cannons, another 2 lighter blaster cannons, and concussion grenade launcher. Their main drawback was their light armor. Their main roles were reconnaissance and infantry support. The AT-RT was smaller, but served similar roles. They could go almost 50 miles per hour. To me, the most interesting walker in the group, though, is the AT-AP, or All-Terrain Attack Pod. It had a very different role from the first 2. It was essentially a smaller, more agile version of the AT-TE, but it still packed a huge punch with its very powerful, heavy mass driver cannon. It had a very sophisticated targeting system, meaning it was very accurate. This earned it the nickname Sniper Tank. I think this was a great design. It was well armored and packed a massive punch, but could go places bigger walkers like the AT-TE couldn't. There are plenty of other walkers, but I think you get the picture. While at first glance it might seem that walkers are a terrible design, they actually work really well in the Star Wars universe. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Thomas Mancala. Goodbye.